Have you ever been treated like a debt by the people who called themselves your family? Naomi had. And on the night they forced her to marry a blind man who slept near a bus station, she thought her life was over. But she did not know one thing. That same man was hiding a secret powerful enough to make the whole city lower its voice. Naomi Carter was 9 years old when she learned that waiting could hurt. Not loud hurt, not the kind that made you scream, but a quiet hurt. The kind that sat beside you in a plastic chair and stayed there. She was sitting in this corner of a foster center in Atlanta, wearing a faded gray hoodie that was too big at the sleeves. Her sneakers were old, and one shoelace dragged loose across the floor. In her hands she held a book with a torn cover. She was not really reading, she was hiding. The room was full of children trying to be noticed. Some laughed too loudly, some cried too easily. Some ran to the window every time a car pulled into the lot. They still believed every visitor might be the one who would point and say, "That child, we want that child." Naomi did not run to the window anymore. She had done that before too many times. She had smiled at strangers until her cheeks hurt. She had answered questions politely. She had folded her hands in her lap and tried to look easy to love. But families came and families left, usually with someone younger, someone lighter, someone less quiet. So Naomi stopped hoping where people could see it. She kept her eyes on the book. A woman at the desk once called her well-behaved. Another called her low maintenance. Naomi did not know those words were sometimes used for children. Adults did not want to understand. She only knew this. If she expected nothing, disappointment had less room to hit her. That Saturday, a church group came with boxes of donated coats, sandwiches, juice, and school supplies. The adults smiled too brightly. They bent down and spoke in soft voices. Naomi watched from her corner. She did not ask for a backpack or a sandwich. She had learned that asking made people look at you with pity. Then a man stopped in front of her. He was tall, broad, and white with kind gray eyes, and a work shirt rolled up at the sleeves. There was a little grease under one fingernail, like he had come from fixing something. His name was Richard Whitmore. He looked at the book in her hands and asked, "You like reading?" Naomi looked up slowly, as adults asked questions all the time, but most did not really want answers, so she held the book closer. "Reading helps," she said, and Richard lowered himself into the chair across from her, asking, "Helps with what?" Naomi looked back down at the page and said, "Helps me not hear people say nobody needs me." The noise in the room kept going. A child laughed, a cup fell. Someone called for more napkins, but Richard went quiet. Not the awkward kind, the listening kind. Naomi noticed that. He did not rush to correct her. He did not tell her not to say sad things. He did not promise what he could not know. After a moment he said, "That is a heavy thing for a little girl to carry." Naomi shrugged. "I am not little. I am 9. And Richard nodded seriously. 9 is a strong age. Naomi almost smiled, almost, until from across the room a woman called his name. "Richard, Eleanor is ready." Naomi looked past him, and a white woman stood near the doorway in a cream sweater, holding a purse close to her side. Her blonde hair was neat. Her smile was polite, and beside her stood 2 little girls. Madison, the older one, had shiny blonde curls and pink shoes. Chloe, the younger one, held a stuffed rabbit against her chest. They both stared at Naomi, not cruelly, not yet, just curiously, like she was something from a story they had not chosen to read. Richard stood and said, "I have to go." Naomi nodded, as people always had to go, but he did not walk away immediately. "What is your name?" he asked, and she said, "Naomi." He repeated it carefully, "Naomi." Then he reached into a donation bag and pulled out a small blue bookmark that had a cross on it and 3 words printed in silver, "You are seen." He placed it on the table beside her book and said, "For when you read." Naomi touched the edge of it and said, "Thank you." 2 weeks later, Richard came back, and this time Eleanor came with him. So did Madison and Chloe. A social worker spoke to Naomi in a cheerful voice, but Naomi barely heard the words, "Visit, possible placement, new home, try." All those words sounded beautiful, which was why they scared her. She packed everything she owned into one small bag. 2 shirts, 1 pair of jeans, a church dress with tight sleeves, the torn book, and the blue bookmark. When she walked outside, Richard was waiting beside a dark green pickup truck, and he opened the back door for her. "You ready?" he asked. Naomi looked at the truck, then back at the foster center, wanting to ask if this was real and how long it would last. Instead, she whispered, "Yes, sir," and Richard smiled gently. "You can call me Richard for now." "For now?" she asked. "We will take our time," he replied. The Whitmore house sat in a quiet white neighborhood, with trimmed lawns, wide driveways, and mailboxes that looked cleaner than some bedrooms Naomi had slept in. The house had tall windows, a wide porch, and warm yellow light glowing inside. Naomi stepped through the front door and stopped, seeing a staircase near the entrance. A long dining table, soft carpet, and framed photos on the walls. Richard holding baby Madison Eleanor with baby Chloe, the 4 of them at Christmas, the 4 of them at the beach, the 4 of them smiling like a family that had always known where everyone belonged. Naomi stood under those pictures and felt small, as there was no photo of her, no proof that she fit. Eleanor showed her a guest room with white curtains and a bed so soft Naomi did not trust it. "You can sleep here," Eleanor said. Naomi touched the blanket with 2 fingers and asked for how long. Eleanor blinked. Richard heard the question from the doorway. His face softened, and Eleanor said, "As long as you need." But Naomi looked at Richard, who stepped closer, and said, "As long as you belong here." That night, Naomi did not sleep. She lay on top of the blanket with her shoes still on. The room was too quiet, the mattress too soft. Every small sound made her sit up. A pipe in the wall, a car outside, footsteps in the hall. She kept waiting for someone to open the door and say there had been a mistake. That she had eaten too much, touched the wrong towel, looked too sad, or taken up too much space. But morning came and nobody sent her away. As days became weeks and weeks became months, Richard made the house feel less frightening. He taught Naomi how to flip pancakes without burning them, how to hold a flashlight while he fixed a car, how to check tire pressure, and how to laugh without covering her mouth. When she struggled with homework, he sat beside her, and when she got a spelling word wrong, he said, "Try again." Not "What is wrong with you?" Not "You should know this. Just try again." One afternoon, a neighbor stopped by while Richard was working on his truck in the driveway. Naomi stood beside him holding a wrench, and the neighbor looked at her asking this, "Your daughter?" Naomi froze, but Richard did not. He did not explain. He did not say foster. He did not say adopted. He did not say almost. He simply nodded. "Yes," he said. "My daughter." Naomi looked at him, and Richard kept working like it was the most normal answer in the world. But for Naomi, the world shifted. That night at dinner, Madison complained about vegetables. Chloe spilled water. Eleanor sighed, and Richard passed Naomi the cornbread before she asked, "Small things." That was how Naomi learned safety. A plate waiting for her, a coat in her size, a school form with her name written neatly, a birthday cupcake with 1 candle because no one knew her real birthday. And Richard always, Richard steady, warm, certain, until one evening, Naomi broke a glass in the kitchen. It slipped from her wet hands and shattered across the tile, the sound making her drop to her knees. "I am sorry," she said quickly. "I will clean it. Please do not be mad." Richard came in and saw her shaking, so he knelt beside her. "Naomi, stop. I did not mean to. I know." A piece of glass cut her thumb, and Richard wrapped it gently with a paper towel. Then he looked at her. "You are not a guest here." Naomi's eyes filled. "You are not a burden." Her breath caught, and Richard placed one hand on her shoulder. "You are my daughter." The kitchen went quiet. Madison laughed at the TV upstairs. The refrigerator hummed. A dog barked somewhere outside, but Naomi heard only those words. "You are my daughter." For the first time she cried without trying to hide it, and Richard stayed beside her on the kitchen floor. He did not tell her to stop. He did not tell her to be strong. He simply stayed, and Naomi believed him. Maybe that was the most dangerous thing, because once a child believes she has finally been chosen, losing it hurts worse than never having it at all. For a while, Naomi believed the house had finally accepted her, not loudly, not perfectly, but enough. There was a plate for her at dinner, a coat with her name written inside, a school photo on the refrigerator, and Richard, always Richard. He was the one who made the house feel steady when Eleanor became too busy. Richard noticed when Madison rolled her eyes. Richard corrected her. When Chloe copied Madison's attitude, Richard stopped it gently, saying kindness is not optional in this house. And somehow when Richard said it, people listened. Then one evening, everything changed. Richard had worked late at his auto shop, and it was raining lightly in Atlanta, the kind of soft rain that made the roads shine under the streetlights. Naomi was at the kitchen table doing homework. She was 15, then older, taller still, quiet, but not as afraid as before. Her phone buzzed. It was Richard. She answered quickly. "Hey, Dad." Richard laughed softly. "You sound serious. I have a history test tomorrow. Then I better not disturb the scholar." Naomi smiled. She could hear the hum of his truck in the background. Then his voice came again. "I will be home a little late, baby girl." Naomi looked at the clock. "Okay, do you want me to save dinner, please? And do not let Madison eat my cornbread." Naomi laughed. "I will guard it. That is my girl." There was a short pause. Then Richard said, "I am proud of you, Naomi." She held the phone tighter. "You always say that because it is always true." Naomi looked down, smiling at the table. "Drive safe, Dad." "I will." Those were the last words she ever said to him. Richard never made it home. The first call came from an unknown number. Eleanor answered it in the hallway. Naomi heard her say, "Yes, this is his wife," then silence. Not normal. Silence. A silence that made the whole house hold its breath. Eleanor's hand went to the wall. Her face changed. Madison came out of the living room. What happened? Eleanor did not answer. Chloe came down the stairs. Naomi stood slowly. She already knew not the details, not the words, but she knew something had reached into the house and taken the warmest thing in it. Richard had suffered a stroke while driving. His truck had drifted off the road and struck a guardrail. By the time the ambulance arrived, he was unconscious. By the time the family reached the hospital, he was gone, just like that. No goodbye, no last hug, no final prayer, just an empty chair at the dinner table and a piece of cornbread still covered on the stove. At the funeral, the church was full. People came from the auto shop, from the neighborhood, from the church, from places Naomi did not even know Richard had touched. Men with rough hands cried into folded programs. Women whispered about how good he had been, how fair, how patient, how rare. Naomi stood near the back, not because she wanted to, because nobody told her where to sit. The front row was full of Whitmores. Eleanor sat between Madison and Chloe. Richard's brothers sat close. His cousins filled the next row. Naomi stood by the aisle in a black dress that Eleanor had bought in a hurry. It was too loose at the shoulders. She kept pulling the sleeves down. A woman behind her whispered, "Who is that girl?" Another whispered back, "I think she is the one they took in, the one they took in." Naomi stared at Richard's coffin. She wanted to walk forward. She wanted to touch the polished wood and say, "Dad, I am here." But her feet would not move. For the first time in years, she felt like the little girl at the foster center again, standing outside a family looking in. After the burial, people came to the house with food, casseroles, pies, fried chicken, potato salad. They hugged Eleanor. They cried with Madison and Chloe. They told them to be strong. Some hugged Naomi too, but gently, uncertainly, like they were not sure what she was allowed to be, a daughter, a guest, a charity case. Naomi did not know anymore. In the weeks after Richard's death, the house changed slowly. Then all at once. At first, Eleanor was only grieving. She moved through the rooms like a woman who had forgotten where she had put herself. She sat in Richard's chair and stared at nothing. She left coffee untouched. She opened bills and folded them back without reading. Naomi tried to help. She washed dishes. She packed Richard's work shirts. She made sure Chloe ate breakfast. She folded Madison's laundry, even when Madison left it on purpose. But grief did not make Eleanor softer. It made her sharper. Bills came, insurance papers came. The auto shop was not as stable as everyone thought. The mortgage was heavy. The house cost more to keep than Naomi had ever understood. Eleanor began to worry about money, then about appearances, then about what people would think. She stopped inviting church women inside unless the house looked perfect. She snapped. If the kitchen was messy, she sighed whenever Naomi needed school supplies. One afternoon, Naomi asked if she could join a college prep program. It cost $40. Eleanor looked at the paper for a long moment. Then she said, "We all have to be realistic now." Naomi nodded. She folded the paper and put it in her backpack. That night she heard Eleanor on the phone. "I can barely manage the girls," Eleanor said. Then a pause. "No, Naomi is still here." Still here, the words sat in Naomi's chest like a stone. Madison changed too, or maybe she simply stopped hiding. She was 16 now, pretty blonde, and very aware of it. She liked expensive bags. She liked attention. She liked taking photos in corners of the house where the light made everything look richer than it was. After Richard died, Madison spoke his name with bitterness, more than grief. "Dad always took her side," she said one night. Naomi was passing the hallway with a basket of towels. Madison saw her. She did not lower her voice. "It is true. He acted like she was some little angel." Chloe was sitting on Madison's bed painting her nails. "She did not ask him to," Chloe said softly. Madison turned on her. "That is because you are too young to get it." Chloe went quiet. Madison looked back at Naomi. "You heard me?" Naomi held the basket tighter. "I was not trying to listen." "You never are," Madison said. "You just always happen to be around." Naomi said nothing. That was what she had learned. Silence did not protect her, but sometimes it kept the wound from getting bigger. Chloe was not cruel in the beginning. Not really. She still asked Naomi for help with homework, still borrowed her hair ties, still smiled sometimes when Madison was not around. But Chloe liked safety, and in that house, safety meant standing close to Madison. So little by little, Chloe began to laugh when Madison laughed. She stopped defending Naomi. Then she stopped noticing when Naomi was hurt. That was worse. Somehow a slap would have been cleaner. One evening, Naomi found an old family photo on the mantel. It was from a summer picnic. Richard stood in the middle, one arm around Eleanor, one arm around Naomi. Madison and Chloe stood in front. Everyone was smiling. Naomi picked it up carefully. Her thumb touched Richard's face. For 1 second she let herself remember his voice, his truck, his laugh, that kitchen floor. "You are my daughter." Then Madison walked in. Her eyes landed on the photo. "What are you doing?" Naomi turned. "Nothing. I was just cleaning." Madison walked over and took the frame from her hand. She looked at it, then at Naomi. "You really believed it, did not you?" Naomi's throat tightened. "Believed what? That you were one of us?" Naomi did not answer. Madison leaned closer. Her voice dropped, but it cut deeper that way. "You are not even a real Whitmore." The room went still. Chloe stood at the doorway. She heard it. Eleanor was in the kitchen close enough to hear too. No one spoke. No one corrected Madison. No one said Richard would have hated those words. Naomi waited just 1 second, then another. Still nothing, so she looked down. "Okay," she whispered. Madison laughed under her breath and walked away. That night, Naomi went to her room, opened the drawer beside her bed. Inside was the blue bookmark Richard had given her years ago. "You are seen." Next to it was a copy of that same family photo. Naomi held the picture for a long time. Then she slid it under a stack of old notebooks. Not because she stopped loving Richard, never that, but because looking at the photo hurt too much. It reminded her of a life that had almost been hers, a family that had almost kept her, a home that had been warm only because one man had stood between her and the cold. Now Richard was gone, and the cold was coming in through every wall. After Richard died, nobody sat down and told Naomi her place had changed. No one called a family meeting. No one said from now on, "You are less." It happened quietly, one chore at a time. At first, Eleanor asked for small things. "Naomi, can you clear the table? Naomi, can you fold the towels? Naomi, can you take the dog out?" Naomi did them. She did not complain. She thought helping would make the house softer. She thought if she became useful enough, maybe Eleanor would look at her with warmth again. So she cooked breakfast before school. She packed Chloe's lunch. When Chloe forgot, she washed Madison's coffee mugs from the bathroom sink. She swept the porch. She took out the trash. She wiped fingerprints from the glass doors. Then small things became expected. Things became her job. By the time Naomi was 17, the Whitmore house ran on her hands. She woke before everyone at 5:40 in the morning while the sky was still gray. Naomi was already in the kitchen. She made coffee for Eleanor, 2 sugars, no cream. She toasted bagels for Chloe lightly, because Chloe hated dark edges. She scrambled egg whites for Madison, who had decided carbs made her face look swollen. Then Naomi packed her own school bag and ate standing near the counter. Most mornings, nobody said, "Thank you." Sometimes Eleanor walked in, took the coffee, and only said, "The floor is sticky." Sometimes Madison came down in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, looked at the eggs, and said, "I said no butter." Naomi would nod. "I will make another one." Madison never offered to help. Chloe watched and learned. After school, Naomi came home before doing homework. There were laundry baskets, waiting dishes in the sink, dog hair on the couch, packages on the porch. Eleanor liked the house perfect, especially from the outside. The lawn had to be clean, the windows had to shine, the pool had to look blue even when nobody swam in it. On Saturdays, Naomi vacuumed the guest rooms. She scrubbed the bathrooms. She watered the plants. She walked the Whitmore's golden retriever around the block, while Madison slept until noon, and Chloe filmed makeup videos under bright ring lights. The house was still large, still beautiful, still white with tall windows and trimmed hedges. But to Naomi, it no longer felt like home. It felt like a place where she was always one mistake away from being reminded she did not belong. The first live stream happened on a warm Friday afternoon. Madison was 19. Then she had built a small following online by filming lifestyle videos. Her room was full of soft lights, candles, shopping bags, and clothes she had not paid for herself. That day she was filming in the kitchen. Chloe held the phone. Madison leaned against the island, smiling, like the whole world had come to hear her speak. "Okay, guys," she said, flipping her blonde hair over one shoulder, "today I am showing you how I organize a clean luxury kitchen." Naomi was at the sink behind her washing pans from lunch. She heard the word luxury and almost looked up. Madison opened a drawer and arranged gold-handled spoons she never used. "You have to understand," Madison continued. "A home says a lot about who you are, Chloe giggled behind the phone. Madison lowered her voice just enough to sound playful, and honestly, some people just belong in the kitchen. Then Chloe turned the camera only for 1 second, but long enough. Naomi appeared in the background. Brown hands in dishwater old t-shirt, hair tied back, face calm, because she had learned not to give people the reaction they wanted. Madison laughed. Chloe laughed too. Naomi heard it, every word, every breath, every little sound of amusement. But she did not turn around. She rinsed the pan, placed it in the rack, reached for the next one. Her chest burned, but her hands stayed steady. That was Naomi's gift, and her curse, She could keep moving, even when something inside her was breaking. A week later, Eleanor hosted a small fundraiser at the house. It was for a church charity. Women came in soft dresses and pearl earrings. Men stood near the patio doors, holding glasses of sweet tea and talking about property taxes, schools, and neighborhood safety. Naomi helped from the kitchen. She carried trays, refilled drinks, collected empty plates. She wore a plain black dress Eleanor had given her that morning. Not a nice dress, a serving dress. Madison noticed and smiled. "That actually suits you," she said. Naomi did not answer. During the party, a woman from Eleanor's prayer group watched Naomi move through the living room with a tray of lemon water. The woman tilted her head. "She is lovely," she said. "Is she your daughter?" Naomi heard the question. She was close enough. Her fingers tightened around the tray. For one small, foolish moment, her heart lifted. Eleanor glanced at Naomi, then smiled at the woman. "Oh no," Eleanor said lightly. "She helps around the house." The tray became heavy, too heavy. Naomi felt the glasses tremble. Water moved in tiny circles. She forced her hands. Still. The woman looked embarrassed. "Oh," she said. "I see." Naomi lowered her eyes and walked away. She did not drop the tray. She did not cry. She did not ask Eleanor why. She carried the lemon water into the dining room and set it down exactly where it belonged. Then she went back to the kitchen. Madison was there eating a strawberry. From the dessert tray, she had heard everything. Her smile was slow. "Help her," Madison said softly. Naomi reached for a stack of plates. "Do not start." Madison lifted both hands. "I did not say it. Mom did." Chloe walked in behind them. She looked from Madison to Naomi. For a second, Naomi saw something like guilt in Chloe's face, but it disappeared quickly. Chloe picked up a napkin and said, "Madison, your live comments are going crazy." Madison laughed and left. Naomi stayed in the kitchen until the party ended. She washed every plate, wiped every counter, took out 2 bags of trash. When the last guest drove away, Eleanor came in and looked around. "There are crumbs near the patio door," she said. Naomi nodded. "I will get them." Eleanor rubbed her forehead. "And next time, try to look more pleasant when we have company." Naomi looked at her just for a second. Eleanor's face was tired but not sorry. "Yes, ma'am," Naomi said. That night, Naomi went upstairs slowly. Her legs hurt, her back hurt, but the pain in her body was simple. It had a place. Her chest did not. She entered the bathroom and locked the door. Then she turned on the faucet. Full blast, the water hit the sink, hard, loud enough to cover small sounds. Naomi gripped the edge of the counter. She looked at herself in the mirror. Brown skin, tired eyes, hair coming loose at the edges. A girl who had once been called daughter. A girl who was now introduced as help. For a moment she tried not to cry. She really tried. She pressed her lips together. She breathed through her nose. She told herself she was stronger than this. But strength did not stop the tears. They came silently, one after another. She did not sob. She did not make noise. She had learned how to break quietly. After a while, Naomi slid down to the bathroom floor. The cold tile pressed against her knees. The faucet kept running. She hugged herself and thought of Richard. If he were here, none of this would happen. Then another thought came, a smaller one, more dangerous. Maybe if I try harder, they will love me again. She hated that thought, but she could not kill it. Because some part of Naomi was still that 9-year-old girl in the foster center, still waiting for someone to choose her. Still thinking love could be earned by being quiet, by being useful, by not asking for too much, by making everyone else comfortable. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Then she stood, turned off the water, washed her eyes, and practiced a calm expression in the mirror, because in that house, even pain had to clean up after itself. Before she opened the bathroom door, Naomi whispered to herself, "Just a little longer." She did not know why she said it. Maybe because leaving felt impossible. Maybe because staying hurt less than having nowhere to go. Maybe because Richard's voice still lived somewhere in the walls. "You are my daughter." Naomi held that memory like a match in the dark. Small, warm, almost gone, but not gone yet. The Whitmore house looked beautiful from the outside. Fresh flowers near the porch. White curtains. Clean windows. The kind of home people slowed down to admire when driving through the neighborhood. Inside, everything felt tense, like people were smiling with their teeth instead of their hearts. Eleanor was hosting another charity dinner that weekend. Bigger this time, important guests, church leaders, business owners, women who judged homes quietly while pretending not to. For 3 straight days, Naomi barely sat down. She polished silverware, folded napkins, cleaned the patio chairs, prepared centerpieces with white roses Eleanor bought at an expensive florist downtown. On Friday morning, Eleanor stood near the kitchen counter, holding a white envelope. Naomi was wiping fingerprints off wine glasses. "Come here," Eleanor said. Naomi walked over immediately. Eleanor held out the envelope. "There is $600 in here." Naomi took it carefully. "You will go to Parker Market and pick up the dessert trays and the extra supplies." Naomi nodded. "Yes, ma'am." Eleanor looked directly at her. "And Naomi." Naomi waited. "Do not lose it." The words were simple, but the tone underneath them was not. Naomi lowered her eyes. "I will not." Madison walked into the kitchen right then, wearing designer sunglasses, even though she was indoors. "What is that?" she asked casually. "Party money," Eleanor answered. Madison smirked. "Maybe count it twice." Naomi pretended not to hear. That was how survival worked. In that house you learned which humiliations were safer to ignore. An hour later, Naomi stopped by the grocery store. First, she pushed the cart through crowded aisles. While checking the list, Eleanor had written in perfect handwriting. Sparkling water, imported cheese, fruit trays, fresh mint, everything expensive, everything unnecessary. Naomi kept touching the envelope inside her tote bag every few minutes. Still there, still safe. At checkout, she realized Eleanor had forgotten candles. Naomi asked the cashier politely, "I am so sorry. Can you hold this for 1 minute?" The cashier nodded. Naomi hurried 3 aisles down, grabbed 2 boxes of ivory candles, came back breathing fast, then reached into her tote bag. Nothing. Her stomach dropped instantly. Naomi froze. Her fingers searched harder. Wallet, notebook, lip balm, receipt, no envelope. For 1 second, the grocery store noise disappeared. No carts, no voices, no music, only the sound of her own heartbeat, fast, sharp, wrong. She checked again and again. Nothing. No, the cashier looked up. "You okay?" Naomi swallowed. I think I lost something." Her hands shook as she searched the floor near the register, then the aisles, then the parking lot. She retraced every step. Nothing. By the time she got home, her chest hurt. From panic, the grocery bags cut into her fingers as she carried them inside. Eleanor was arranging flowers in the dining room. Madison sat nearby, scrolling through her phone. Chloe painted her nails on the couch. Eleanor glanced up. "You are late." Naomi set the bags down quickly. "I am sorry. Where are the candles?" "I got them." Naomi handed them over. Then she stopped breathing for a second because she knew what came next. The silence stretched too long. Eleanor noticed immediately. "What is it?" Naomi's mouth felt dry. The envelope. Madison slowly looked up from her phone. Naomi forced herself to continue. "I cannot find it." The room changed instantly. Eleanor straightened. "What do you mean you cannot find it? I had it at the store, and then you lost $600. Naomi shook her head quickly. "I think someone may have taken it." Eleanor laughed, once cold disbelieving. Of course, Naomi's heartbeat became painful. "I am telling the truth." Madison crossed her arms. "You probably left it somewhere I did not. Then, where is it?" Naomi looked helplessly between them. "I do not know." Eleanor stepped closer. The disappointment on her face hurt worse than yelling. "You know what your problem is," Eleanor said quietly. Naomi looked down. "You always bring trouble into this house." Naomi felt something crack softly inside her chest. "I said, I am sorry." Eleanor's eyes hardened. "Sorry does not replace money." Naomi swallowed. "I will work and pay it back." Madison laughed under her breath. With what money? Naomi ignored her. "I will find a way." Then Eleanor said the sentence Naomi would remember for years. "Maybe poor blood stays poor." Silence. Heavy, ugly, even. Chloe stopped moving. Naomi stared at Eleanor slowly, like her brain needed extra time to understand what had just happened. Poor blood. Not bad choices. Not bad luck. Blood. Something dirty inside her. Something permanent. Naomi opened her mouth slightly, then closed it again. Madison leaned back against the couch, pretending to look uncomfortable, but Naomi noticed the tiny satisfaction hiding in her eyes. And suddenly, Naomi understood, not fully, but enough. Madison knew something. "I did not take it," Naomi whispered. Eleanor rubbed her forehead. "I cannot do this today." Naomi looked directly at Madison. "You were near my bag." Madison's expression changed instantly. "Offended, perfectly. Offended. Excuse me at home," Naomi said softly before I left. Madison stood up dramatically. "Oh my God," Chloe looked nervous. Now Madison's eyes filled with tears so quickly it almost looked practiced. "She is accusing me because she lost the money." Naomi's chest tightened. "I am not accusing." "Yes, you are." Madison looked at Eleanor. "Mom, are you hearing this?" Naomi hated how fast the word "mom" stabbed her. Now Madison covered her mouth like she was hurt. "She is lying." Naomi stared at her for one dangerous second. Anger rose higher than sadness. She wanted to scream, wanted to ask why, wanted to ask what she had ever done except exist. But years of silence held her still. Eleanor looked exhausted, not curious, not fair, just exhausted. "I do not know what happened," Eleanor said coldly, "but this family is already falling apart. Enough." Naomi blinked slowly. "This family, not ours, not yours too, just theirs." Guests started arriving 30 minutes later, and somehow the dinner still happened, because rich people often continue parties, even after someone's dignity dies quietly in the kitchen. Naomi changed clothes upstairs. Her hands trembled while buttoning the plain black serving dress in the mirror. Her face looked pale under the warm light. She practiced breathing slowly, in, out, and out. Then she went downstairs and served people who never looked her in the eyes. At one point, Naomi carried a tray of drinks through the living room. A woman smiled politely. "Thank you, sweetheart." Naomi nodded before she could walk away. Eleanor appeared beside them. The woman glanced between them. "You must be proud," she said warmly. "She is such a respectful young lady." Naomi's heart stopped. For one stupid little second. Then Eleanor answered. "Naomi, helps around here. Not daughter, not family, just useful." The woman smiled awkwardly. Oh, Naomi held the tray tighter, and then Eleanor added something worse, soft enough that only Naomi could hear. "Also, do not call me mom in front of guests." Again, Naomi froze. The room stayed loud around her glasses, clinking, people laughing, music playing softly from the speakers. But inside Naomi, everything went silent. She nodded once, very small. "Okay." That was all she said, because humiliation becomes easier when it happens often enough. After the dinner ended, Naomi stepped outside through the back patio door. Cold air touched her face. The backyard lights reflected against the swimming pool. Blue water, perfect. Water, still, water. Naomi sat near the edge of the patio steps. Alone for a long time, she did not cry. She only stared at her hands. Brown hands, working hands. Hands Richard once held, proudly, hands Eleanor, now looked at like they belonged to hired help. Naomi turned them over slowly, palms up, palms down, as if searching for something ugly hidden under the skin. Poor blood. The words would not leave her head. Then finally, the tears came slow at first, then heavier. Naomi covered her mouth quickly, so nobody inside would hear, because even heartbreak in that house had to stay quiet. And somewhere deep inside her, a dangerous thought began growing. Maybe they would only stop hurting her if she disappeared from their lives completely. Naomi met Isaiah Brooks on a night when Atlanta looked tired. Rain had been falling since sunset. Not heavy rain, just cold, steady rain that made the sidewalks shine and turned every passing car into a blur of headlights. Naomi had missed her first bus, then her second by the time she reached the stop near Campbell Street. Her coat was damp, her shoes were wet, and her fingers were stiff around the strap of her tote bag. The bus shelter was almost empty. One flickering yellow light buzzed above the bench. A fast food cup rolled near the curb. Water dripped from the edge of the metal roof in slow, stubborn drops. Naomi sat at the far end of the bench and hugged her bag close. She was tired, not just from the day, from the house, from Eleanor's cold voice, from Madison's smile, from the way the word poor blood kept finding her even when nobody was saying it out loud. She looked down at her hands, the same hands that cooked, cleaned, carried trays, held herself together. Then she heard laughter. 3 teenage boys came walking toward the shelter. White boys, maybe 16 or 17. Their hoodies were pulled up, and one of them kicked water from a puddle just to watch it splash. At first, Naomi kept her eyes down. She had learned not to borrow trouble. But then she saw the man standing near the bus sign. He was tall, black, broad-shouldered. His coat was old, dark, and wet at the sleeves. He wore black glasses even though it was nighttime. In one hand, he held a white cane. In the other, a small paper bag that looked like it had once held food. He stood still, listening to the street, too still, like a man used to measuring the world by sound. The boys noticed him. One slowed down, then grinned. "Yo," he said. "Look at this." The second boy laughed. "What is he doing out here?" The third one stepped closer and waved a hand in front of the man's face. The man did not react. Not because he was weak, because he refused to perform for them. Blind. Bum. One boy said the words cut through the rain. Naomi's stomach tightened. The man's jaw moved slightly, but he said nothing. Another boy leaned close. "You waiting for a bus, man, or waiting for somebody to feel sorry for you?" They laughed. Naomi looked around. A woman stood under an awning across the street. She saw, then looked away. A car slowed, then kept going. Naomi felt something rise in her chest. Not courage, exactly. Something older. Something tired. She knew that silence, the silence of people watching someone be made small and deciding it was not their problem. She stood. Her knees felt weak, but her voice did not leave him alone. The boys turned. One smiled. "What?" Naomi stepped closer, I said. "Leave him alone." The boy looked her up and down. "Mind your business." Naomi's heart was beating fast now, but her face stayed calm. "He is my business now." The boys laughed again, but it was thinner this time. The man in the glasses turned his head slightly toward her voice. Naomi moved until she stood beside him. Not in front of him, beside him, that mattered. She did not want to make him look helpless. She just wanted him to know he was not alone. The tallest boy scoffed. "You know this guy?" Naomi looked at him. "I know enough. What does that mean?" "It means your bus is not coming faster because you are cruel." For a second, nobody spoke. Then the boy cursed under his breath. Whatever, he shoved his hands into his hoodie pocket and walked away. The other two followed, still pretending to laugh, but they did not come back. Naomi watched until they crossed the street. Only then did she breathe. The man beside her spoke quietly. "You did not have to do that." His voice surprised her. It was deep, calm, educated, not the voice people expected from a man they had already decided was nothing. Naomi looked at him. His glasses were wet with rain. You should not have had to stand there alone. He gave a small, almost sad smile. People usually prefer alone for men like me. Naomi did not answer right away. The rain tapped against the shelter roof. A bus passed on the other side of the street, sending dirty water over the curb. She looked down the road. Which bus are you waiting for? 42. Naomi checked the sign. You are at the right stop, I thought, so it should be here in a few minutes. He nodded. Thank you. Naomi stayed beside him. A minute passed, then two. He tilted his head slightly. You do not have to wait. I know, but you are. Yes, why? Naomi looked at the wet street. The question was simple. The answer was not. Because I know what it feels like to be laughed at. Because I know what it feels like when people see your skin, your clothes, your need, and decide they already know your worth. Because I know what it feels like to stand in a beautiful house and still be treated like dirt. But she did not say all of that, not to a stranger. She only said, because I know what it feels like when people stop seeing you as human. The man became very still, not frozen, listening like Richard used to listen. That made Naomi look away quickly. He held the cane gently in front of him. What is your name? Naomi hesitated. Names were not small things. Names gave people a way to find you, to call you, to hurt you. But his voice held no demand. Only respect, Naomi. She said. He repeated it softly. Naomi. Then he said, I am Isaiah. The bus appeared at the corner. Its lights cut through the rain. Naomi stepped closer to the curb and raised one hand. The bus slowed. The doors opened with a sigh. Naomi turned to Isaiah. There is one step up the floor. Might be wet. Isaiah nodded. Thank you. He moved carefully. Naomi did not grab him. She only stood close enough in case he needed balance. At the door, Isaiah paused. Then he turned his face toward her. Naomi. Yes, you helped me, like I still had dignity. Naomi swallowed. You do. He said nothing for the moment. Then he stepped onto the bus. The doors closed. Naomi stood in the rain and watched the bus pull away. Inside, Isaiah sat near the front, his cane resting across his knees. For the first time in years, he thought about a woman without wondering what she wanted from him. Not money, not status, not rescue. She had not known anything about him, and still she had stood there in the rain beside him, not above him, beside him. Isaiah leaned back against the seat. His face stayed calm, but something inside him shifted. A small thing, quiet, dangerous hope. Grant Holloway arrived on a Saturday afternoon, and the Whitmore house changed its voice for him. Eleanor stood straighter. Chloe fixed her hair twice. Madison came downstairs in a cream dress she had been saving for someone important. Grant looked like the kind of man Madison wanted people to see beside her. Tall, white, clean-shaven, expensive smile, navy suit, gold watch, keys to a silver sports car, swinging loosely from one finger. The car was parked right in front of the house, shining like a promise. No one knew it was leased. No one knew Grant was 3 months behind on payments. No one knew. Half his life was borrowed. That was why he was good at selling houses. He knew how to make people believe in things they could not afford. He greeted Eleanor first. Mrs. Whitmore, he said, taking her hand. Your home is even more beautiful in person. Eleanor smiled in a way Naomi had not seen in months. Oh, you are kind. Madison stepped forward quickly. Grant helped the Donovans sell their lake house, she said. He is one of the best realtors in Atlanta. Grant laughed softly. I try. He knew exactly how to sound humble without being humble. Naomi watched from the kitchen doorway. She had been told to serve iced tea, so she did. She carried the tray into the living room and set the glasses on the table without lifting her eyes too much, but Grant noticed her. Not in the way men usually notice Madison. Not with a long stare, not with hunger, with curiosity. Naomi moved quietly, carefully, like someone trained not to disturb the air. Grant took a glass from the tray. Thank you, he said. Naomi nodded. You are welcome. Her voice was calm, not sweet, not eager, just calm. Grant looked at her a second longer. What is your name? Before Naomi could answer, Madison spoke. That is Naomi. Grant smiled. Nice to meet you, Naomi. Naomi nodded again. You too. Then she walked back toward the kitchen. Grant watched her leave. Madison saw it. Her smile tightened. It was small, almost invisible, but Chloe noticed. And Naomi, from the hallway, felt the room shift without even turning around. Madison could handle many things, bills, lies, competition from other women. But not Naomi getting attention, especially not from a man Madison had already decided belonged to her future. That evening, Madison went upstairs, angry. Chloe followed because Chloe always followed Madison. Shut the bedroom door. Did you see that? She snapped. Chloe sat on the edge of the bed. See what? Do not act dumb. Chloe looked down. Grant was just being polite. Madison laughed. Men are not polite to girls like Naomi unless they want something. Chloe frowned. What does that mean? It means she does that quiet little victim thing and men fall for it. Chloe did not answer. Madison paced her dress, moved around her knees, like a warning. I am not letting her embarrass me. She did not do anything. Madison stopped and stared at her. That was enough. Chloe's voice got smaller. I know. Madison turned toward the mirror. She looked at herself. Beautiful blonde, raised in a good family. The kind of woman men like Grant were supposed to choose. Then she thought of Naomi, brown skin, old dress. Quiet eyes, standing there with a serving tray, still making a man look twice. Madison's chest burned. She needs to leave this house, she said. Chloe hesitated. Where would she go? Madison turned back slowly. Then something crossed Chloe's face, a memory. What? Madison asked. Chloe shrugged. Nothing, say it. Chloe played with the corner of a pillow. There is that blind homeless guy. Madison stared. What blind homeless guy? The one near the Campbell Street bus station. Chloe said, Naomi helped him one night. I saw them talking another time too. Madison's eyes sharpened. She talks to him. I think he likes her. Madison was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled, not kindly, not even naturally. It was the kind of smile that comes when cruelty finds a door. The blind homeless guy likes her, Madison repeated. Chloe looked uneasy. But Madison was already thinking. If Naomi stayed, Grant might keep noticing her. If Naomi left, the house would be simpler, cleaner, whiter, easier to explain. And if Naomi married someone low enough, no man from Madison's world would ever look at her again. The next morning, Eleanor sat at the dining table with bills spread in front of her. Mortgage, utilities, credit cards, medical debt from Richard's final hospital bills. Her face looked older in the morning light. Madison came in slowly, not rushing, not angry, now careful. She had learned that Eleanor said no to drama, but yes to pressure. Mom, Madison said softly. Eleanor did not look up. What is it we need to talk about? Naomi. Eleanor sighed. Not today. Especially today. That made Eleanor look up. Madison sat across from her. Chloe hovered near the counter. Madison lowered her voice. She is getting too comfortable here. Eleanor's face tightened. She works hard. She also attracts attention. Eleanor frowned. What are you talking about? Grant asked about her. Eleanor blinked. That bothered her. Madison saw it and pressed harder. People are starting to wonder who she is, why she is still here, what her role is. Eleanor looked down at the bills. Her fingers touched the edge of one envelope. What do you suggest? Madison leaned in. Let her marry. Eleanor stared at her. What? There is a man, Madison said. He already likes her. Chloe spoke quietly, the blind man at the bus station. Eleanor looked between them. A homeless man. Madison shrugged. If he wants her, and she wants to pretend she is so kind, let her go be kind in his life. Eleanor's first expression was shock. then discomfort, then something worse, consideration. Naomi, standing in the hallway with a basket of laundry, heard enough to stop breathing. She did not move. Madison continued. She is not a child anymore. She is 18. You cannot keep feeding her forever. Eleanor closed her eyes. Naomi heard the silence. In that silence lived Richard, his voice, his hands, his promise. You are my daughter. Eleanor opened her eyes again, but when she spoke, her voice was not Richard's call her. Chloe stepped into the hallway and froze when she saw Naomi. For 1 second, guilt flashed across her face. Then she looked away. Naomi, she said, Mom wants you. Naomi walked into the dining room. The laundry basket was still in her hands. Eleanor looked at it. Put that down. Naomi set it near the wall. Madison leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. Eleanor cleared her throat. There is a man who has shown interest in you. Naomi's heart began to pound. What man? The blind man. Madison said your bus stop. Boyfriend, Naomi looked at her. He is not my boyfriend, but he likes you, Chloe said softly. Naomi turned to Eleanor. I do not understand, Eleanor. Folded her hands. You are grown now, Naomi, and this house cannot be your whole future. The words sounded reasonable. That made them hurt more. Naomi swallowed my future. Yes. Eleanor looked at Madison, then back at Naomi. If a man is willing to marry you, you should consider it. Naomi stared at her. Marry him. Madison smiled. You always care about people nobody wants. This is your chance. Naomi's face went still. That sentence landed hard, because there was truth twisted inside the cruelty. She did care, but care was not consent. Naomi looked at Eleanor. Do I have a choice? Eleanor's eyes hardened, not fully, just enough to make the answer clear before she said it. You had a home. Naomi blinked. Eleanor's voice became colder. That was your choice. The room seemed to tilt. Naomi felt the old foster center rise around her, the chair, the book, the waiting. Only now she was not 9, and the people sending her away were the ones who had once called her family. She looked at Madison. Madison did not hide her satisfaction. She looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at the floor. Then Naomi looked back at Eleanor. For one moment, she wanted to fight, to say, Richard would be ashamed, to say, love was not a bill to be repaid, to say a home given to a child should never become a debt. But the words stayed inside her because she already knew something painful. They had decided before calling her in, this was not a conversation, it was a notice. Naomi picked up the laundry basket slowly. When Eleanor looked relieved, too relieved, we will speak to him soon. Madison smiled. Good. Naomi nodded once. Then she left the room. She walked upstairs without crying. Not yet inside her small bedroom. She closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed. For a long time she stared at the floor. Then a thought came, quiet, terrible, almost peaceful. Maybe if I leave, they will stop hating me. Maybe if I disappear, this house will finally be calm. Maybe love was never something I could earn here. She reached into the drawer and took out Richard's old blue bookmark. You are seen. Naomi held it against her chest and whispered, Dad, I do not know what to do, but the room gave no answer, only silence. And downstairs the people who had once been her family began planning her life without her. The wedding happened on a rainy Thursday morning. Not Saturday, not Sunday, not the kind of day people chose for joy. Just Thursday, a gray, wet, forgettable Thursday in Atlanta. The church was small, with old wooden pews and a roof that clicked softly. Whenever the rain hit harder, there were no flowers except 2 tired white arrangements near the altar. No music except the low hum of the air conditioner. No smiling crowd, no bridesmaids, no white dress chosen with love. Naomi wore a simple cream dress Eleanor had pulled from the back of a closet. It was not ugly, but it was not hers. Madison sat in the second row with her arms folded, looking bored. Chloe sat beside her, quiet, checking her phone whenever Eleanor was not looking. Eleanor sat straight, lips pressed together like she was attending a meeting. She wanted finished quickly. Isaiah Brooks stood at the front. Black glasses, dark suit, clean but old white cane held in one hand. His shoulders were wide. His face was calm, too calm for a man marrying a woman he barely knew. But when Naomi walked down the short aisle, he turned his head toward the sound of her steps, not eagerly, not proudly, gently, as if he knew she was walking towards something she had not chosen. Naomi noticed that it mattered more than anyone knew. The pastor spoke softly. His voice echoed in the nearly empty church. Naomi repeated the vows. Her voice did not shake. She had already cried enough in places no one saw. Isaiah repeated his vows, slowly, clearly. When it was time for the ring, Isaiah held out a small silver band. It was plain, almost too plain. He leaned slightly toward her and whispered, "I am sorry, it is not more." Naomi looked at the ring, then at his face. "It is enough," she whispered back. Madison rolled her eyes. Eleanor looked away. The pastor said they were husband and wife. No one clapped. Rain answered for them after the ceremony. Eleanor hugged Naomi lightly, not like a mother, like a woman closing a door politely. Madison smiled. "Good luck," she said. There was something sharp under the words. Chloe gave Naomi a quick hug, too quick to mean much. Then the Whitmores left. First, their car pulled away through the rain, and Naomi stood under the small church awning with Isaiah beside her. For the first time that day, nobody was telling her where to stand. Isaiah turned his face toward her. "Naomi, yes, I know, this is not what you wanted." She looked at the streetcars pass through puddles. "I do not think what I wanted mattered." Isaiah was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "It matters to me." Naomi did not answer, because kindness, when you had been starved of it, could hurt almost as much as cruelty. They took a city bus to his apartment. Isaiah insisted on paying her fare. He counted the coins carefully by touch. Naomi watched without speaking. The bus was warm and smelled faintly of wet coats and old rubber. No one knew they had just gotten married. No one cared, and somehow that felt better than the church. Isaiah's apartment was on the second floor of an old brick building in South Atlanta. The hallway smelled like boiled cabbage floor cleaner and damp wood. A baby cried somewhere behind a door. A television laughed too loudly from another unit. Isaiah stopped at apartment 2C. His hand moved across the doorframe until he found the lock. "I have learned the door by feel," he said, quietly. Naomi nodded, then remembered he could not see the nod clearly. That makes sense. Inside the apartment was small, about 420 square feet. One room, a narrow kitchen, a bathroom with a cracked mirror, a sofa with one torn arm, a mattress pushed against the wall with a folded blanket. At the foot, the refrigerator hummed loudly, then clicked, then hummed again. The walls were painted a tired beige near the window. A small table held 2 plates, 1 cup, and a Bible with worn edges. Naomi stood near the doorway. She did not know where to put her hands. Isaiah closed the door behind them. "I wish I had more," he said. His voice was steady, but Naomi heard the shame underneath. She turned toward him. He stood there holding the cane rein still on the shoulders of his coat. A man the Whitmores had called low a man. Madison had used like punishment. A man Eleanor had chosen because she thought he was the smallest future Naomi could have. Naomi looked around the room again. The sofa was torn. The fridge was loud. The window frame had peeling paint. But no one here had called her a burden. No one had told her not to say, "Mom." No one had laughed while she served them. She breathed in slowly. "You speak to me kindly," she said. Isaiah's face changed slightly. "That already feels different." He lowered his head as if those words were heavier than praise. "I can do that," he said softly. "Kindness costs nothing." Naomi almost smiled. Almost that evening they made dinner together, nothing special. Canned beans, rice, 2 eggs, a little hot sauce. Isaiah moved slowly around the kitchen, one hand touching the counter. his cane folded nearby. Naomi noticed he knew where everything was. The pan, the salt, the chipped bowl. He did not ask her to do it all. That surprised her. When she reached for the pot, he said, "Careful, the handle gets hot on the left side." When she spilled a little rice, he did not sigh. He handed her a towel. When the food was ready, he carried one plate carefully to the small table. Naomi waited for him to sit. First, he did not. He pulled out the chair for her. "Please," he said. Naomi stared at the chair. It was old wood scratched along the back, but for some reason her throat tightened. At the Whitmore house, she had stood while people ate. She had cleared plates while they talked. Over her, she had waited until everyone finished before taking what was left. Now this man who supposedly had nothing was offering her the first seat. "Naomi," Isaiah asked gently. She blinked quickly. "I am fine." But she was not. She sat down. Isaiah sat across from her for a while. They ate in silence. No insults, no orders, no fake smiles. Only the sound of rain against the window and the refrigerator humming in the corner. Halfway through the meal, Isaiah asked, "Did you eat today before the wedding?" Naomi looked down at her plate a little. "That does not sound like." "Yes." She almost laughed. It came out more like a breath. "I am used to eating later." Isaiah's fork paused, later than who. Naomi did not answer. He understood enough after dinner. She stood quickly and reached for both plates. Isaiah's hand moved across the table and lightly touched her wrist. Not grabbing, just stopping. "You do not have to jump every time something needs doing." Naomi froze. Her body did not know how to receive that sentence. "I can wash them," she said. "I know you can. I do not mind. I know that too." He let go, then said, "But you are not a servant here." The room went quiet. Too quiet. Naomi looked away. Her eyes burned. She hated how small kindness made her feel. Sometimes like a locked door inside her had opened without permission. Isaiah stood slowly. "We can wash them together." Together, the word settled gently between them. So they did. He washed. She rinsed. He asked where she wanted to put things. No one had asked her that in years. Later, Isaiah gave her the bed. Naomi refused. He insisted, "I can sleep on the sofa." "That sofa is too short for you," she said. "I have survived worse. So have I." The words came out before she could stop them. Isaiah went still, then nodded once. "Then tonight," he said. "Neither of us has to prove that." They made a quiet agreement. Naomi took the mattress. Isaiah took a blanket on the floor beside the sofa. Before sleeping, he placed a clean towel near the bed. "In case you need anything." Naomi sat on the mattress, watching him move carefully through the dim room. "Why are you being so careful with me?" she asked. Isaiah stopped. For a long moment he did not speak. Then he said, "Because I know what it feels like when people treat your pain like it is inconvenient." Naomi looked down. The rain softened outside the city, kept moving beyond the window. Somewhere below, a car door slammed. A neighbor laughed. Pipes knocked inside the wall. But inside apartment 2, nothing felt dangerous for the first time in years. Naomi lay down without listening for someone to call her name in anger. No Madison shouting from upstairs, no Eleanor snapping from the hallway, no Chloe laughing behind a phone. Just rain, just the hum of the refrigerator, just Isaiah breathing quietly across the room. Naomi turned on her side and faced the wall. She thought she would cry again, but she did not. Her body was too tired, her heart too surprised. Sleep came slowly, then fully deep, uninterrupted. In the middle of the night, she woke once. Not because of fear, because she had forgotten where she was. She turned her head. Isaiah was sitting near the window, awake, his glasses off his face, turned toward the rain. "You okay?" Naomi whispered. He turned slightly. "Yes, did I wake you?" "No," a pause, then she said, "Do you sleep sometimes?" She sat up. "Are you worried?" He smiled faintly. "A little about me, about us?" Naomi hugged the blanket around herself. You barely know me. I know enough to respect you. The words stayed in the dark, quiet. Warm, Naomi did not know what to do with them, so she said the only honest thing she had, thank you. Isaiah nodded. Then he reached out one hand, palm open, not demanding. Naomi looked at it. After a moment, she placed her hand in his. His hand was warm, strong, careful. They sat that way for a while. No promises, no romance forced too soon, no magic fixing everything. Just two wounded people sitting in a poor apartment while rain covered the city. And for Naomi, that was enough for one night. It was more than enough. Naomi found out on a quiet Tuesday morning, not in a doctor's office, not with soft music, not with anyone holding her hand, just in the small bathroom of apartment 2C, staring down at two pink lines while the refrigerator hummed loudly in the other room. For a moment she did not move. The test sat in her hand. Her heart beat hard, then harder, pregnant. The word felt too big for the apartment, too big for the cracked mirror, too big for the thin towel hanging behind the door. Naomi sat on the edge of the bathtub and pressed one hand to her stomach. There was no bump yet, nothing visible, nothing the world could see. But something had changed. Something was already there. Small, silent, depending on her. She closed her eyes. And the first feeling was not joy. It was fear, then guilt for feeling fear, then fear again. When Isaiah came back from the corner store, he heard the bathroom door open. Naomi, he called. I am here. Her voice sounded strange. He stopped near the kitchen table, holding a small bag of bread and canned peaches. What happened? Naomi stepped out slowly. She held the test in her hand. Isaiah's face changed before she even spoke. He could not see every detail clearly, but he knew her silence. He had learned it. I am pregnant, she said. The bag slipped slightly in his hand. He caught it before it fell. Then he stood there, still. Too still. Naomi's throat tightened. I know this was not planned. Isaiah set the bag on the table. His hand searched for the chair. He sat down slowly. Pregnant, he repeated. Not angry, not cold, just overwhelmed. Naomi wrapped her arms around herself. If you are upset, you can say it. Isaiah lifted his head. No, you went quiet. Because I am scared. That answer stopped her. He breathed in, then out. I am not scared of the baby. His voice grew rough. I am scared because I do not know if I can protect you. Naomi looked at him. Isaiah touched the edge of the table like he needed to hold on to something. You came into this marriage with nothing but pain behind you, he said. And I brought you into this room, this small room with a refrigerator that sounds like it is fighting for its life. Naomi almost smiled, but her eyes filled first. Isaiah continued, I wanted to give you peace, at least peace. Now there will be a child, and I do not know if I am enough. Naomi walked to him slowly. She sat across from him. You do not have to be enough alone. He shook his head. I am your husband, and I am your wife. The room went quiet. Naomi placed the test on the table between them. Then we learned together. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Isaiah reached across the table. Naomi put her hand in his. His grip was careful, almost afraid we keep the baby, he asked. Naomi nodded yes together, yes. His shoulders lowered, not with relief, exactly, with surrender, the kind that becomes strength when two people carry it. The next morning, Naomi woke before sunrise. Isaiah was still asleep on the sofa, one arm folded under his head. She moved quietly. She made coffee, then cornbread, not much. Just one small pan. The smell filled the apartment, warm, sweet home like a neighbor knocked before 7. Girl, Mrs. Alvarez. From 2A said, is that cornbread? Naomi opened the door, surprised. Yes, ma'am. You selling? Naomi blinked. Selling? She almost said no. Then she thought of the baby, the rent, the cracked mirror, the old refrigerator, the way Isaiah's voice had broken when he said he did not know if he could protect her. Naomi looked back at the pan, then at Miss Alvarez. "I can sell you 2 pieces. How much?" Naomi hesitated. $3. Mrs. Alvarez laughed softly. "Make it 5 smells worth 5. That was Naomi's first sale, $5. She wrote it down in an old notebook, not because $5 was much, because it was proof. The next day, she made more cornbread, a pot of chicken soup coffee in a thermos she bought secondhand for $4. She set up near the corner where construction workers passed in the morning. No sign, no tablecloth, just a small folding cart, paper cups, foil-wrapped slices, and Naomi standing behind it with her hair tied back and a calm smile. At first people were curious. Then they came back. "You got more of that soup?" One worker asked. "Yes, Mr. Lewis." He paused. "You remembered my name?" Naomi nodded. "You said it yesterday." He smiled like being remembered had warmed him more than the soup. Soon customers learned something about Naomi. She did not force cheer. She did not fake energy. She did not shout at people to buy. She simply greeted them, served them well, remembered who liked extra pepper, who took coffee black, who had a wife in the hospital, who was saving for a truck. People liked her food, but more than that, they liked the way she made them feel seen every night. Naomi counted the money, $1 bills, 5 loose quarters. She wrote each amount in the notebook. Monday, $38. Tuesday, $51. Wednesday, $47. She wrote expenses too. Cornmeal eggs, paper cups, chicken gas for the stove. Then she wrote one sentence at the bottom of the page. "Small money still matters." She underlined it twice. Isaiah noticed her getting tired before she admitted it. One afternoon he came home early and found her standing at the stove, one hand pressed against her lower back. The soup was boiling. Cornbread cooled on the counter. Coffee cups were stacked near the window. "Naomi," he said. She turned too quickly. "I am fine. I did not ask yet. I know your voice, and I know yours." She tried to smile. It did not work. Isaiah moved closer, cane tapping lightly against the floor. "How long have you been standing?" "Not long, Naomi." She looked away. "Since 5. It is almost 2. I sat down when she did not answer. Isaiah's jaw tightened. "You are pregnant. I know you cannot work yourself into the ground." Her eyes flashed, not with rage, with exhaustion. "Then what do we do, Isaiah?" He went quiet. She hated that her voice had risen, but the words kept coming. "We need money. The baby will need a crib, clothes, doctor visits, food. You already do what you can. I am not blaming you. I know. No, listen to me." He did. She breathed hard. "I have spent my whole life being treated like I was waiting for someone to allow me to exist. I am not doing that anymore." Isaiah's face softened. Naomi wiped her hands on a towel. "I do not need saving." Her voice broke a little. "I just do not want to fight alone anymore." That sentence changed the room. Isaiah stood still. Then he slowly reached for her hand. This time she let him take it. "I am sorry," he said. Naomi shook her head. "I do not want sorry. What do you want?" "A plan for the first time that day." Isaiah smiled faintly. "A plan, yes," he nodded. "Then we make one." So they did that. Evening they sat at the small table with Naomi's notebook open between them. Isaiah listened as she read the numbers aloud. He asked careful questions, not controlling ones, useful ones. How much did ingredients cost? Which items sold fastest? Which corner had the most foot traffic? What time did people buy coffee? Naomi stared at him once, what he tilted his head. "You ask questions like a businessman." Isaiah paused only for half a second, then he said, "I have known men who ran businesses." Naomi accepted the answer for now. Together, they changed the plan. Less standing, more pre-orders. Soup 3 days a week. Cornbread every morning. Coffee only when profit made sense. Mrs. Alvarez agreed to help deliver orders in the building for a small cut. Mr. Lewis offered to tell the other workers Naomi did not become rich, not even close. But she became something she had not been in the Whitmore house, a woman with choices, small choices, hard choices, but hers. That night, after the dishes were done, Isaiah placed a folded blanket behind Naomi's back. While she sat on the sofa comfortable, she looked at him. Yes, hungry, no cold, no. He nodded seriously. Good, Naomi laughed softly. It surprised both of them. The sound was small but real. Isaiah smiled. There it is, what your laugh. Naomi looked down, embarrassed. I still have one, yes, he said. You do. She leaned back against the blanket. For the first time her hand rested on her stomach, without fear taking over. Isaiah sat beside her. Not too close, close enough. After a moment, Naomi reached for his hand and placed it gently over hers. His breath caught. The apartment stayed poor. The refrigerator still hummed. The walls still needed paint. The future was still uncertain. But in that quiet room, with their hands over the life they had not planned, Naomi felt something strong rise inside her. Not the old kind of hope that begged to be chosen, a new kind. The kind that stood up, the kind that worked, the kind that said, even if the world gives me little, I will build with it, piece by piece, dollar by dollar, breath by breath. And this time, she would not build alone. Naomi fainted on a Friday morning. It happened so fast that nobody had time to catch her. One moment she was standing behind her small food cart, pouring coffee into a paper cup for Mr. Lewis. The next moment, the cup slipped from her hand. Hot coffee splashed across the pavement. Naomi's knees buckled. Naomi. Mr. Lewis reached for her, but she had already fallen sideways against the cart. Mrs. Alvarez screamed from the building entrance. Within minutes, people gathered. Someone called Isaiah. Someone fanned Naomi with a cardboard tray. Someone said she was pregnant. Someone else said she had been standing too long. When Isaiah arrived, he was not walking slowly. Like usual, his cane struck the sidewalk hard. His dark glasses covered his eyes, but his face was pale with fear. Move, he said, not loudly, but with a force that made people step aside. He knelt beside Naomi and touched her face. Naomi, baby, can you hear me? Her eyes fluttered. I am okay, she whispered. No, Isaiah said. You are not okay. She tried to sit up. He stopped her gently. Do not move. I just got dizzy. You fainted. Ms. Alvarez stood nearby, wringing her hands. She needs a doctor. Isaiah nodded. I know. Naomi blinked weakly. The public clinic is 3 blocks. No. Isaiah's answer came too fast. Naomi looked at him. He hesitated only for a second. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone Naomi had never seen before. Not the cracked one he used at home. This one was sleek, black, expensive. He pressed one button. Marcus, he said, I need the car now. Naomi stared at him. Isaiah turned his face away slightly. Yes, my wife, she fainted, my wife. The words were warm, but everything else felt wrong. 10 minutes later, a black SUV pulled to the curb. A driver stepped out, quickly. He was dressed in a suit, not fancy professional. He opened the back door. Naomi's confusion grew. Isaiah, she whispered. Whose car is this? Please, he said softly. Let me get you checked first. That is not an answer. I know his voice broke just enough to frighten her more than the SUV did. At the clinic, the doors opened before they reached them. A private clinic. Clean glass, quiet lobby, soft chairs. No long line. No tired receptionist shouting names across the room. A nurse looked up from the desk, then stood immediately. Mr. Brooks. Naomi froze. Isaiah's hand tightened around hers. Not enough to hurt, enough to beg. Without words. The nurse smiled carefully. We have a room ready. Naomi looked at Isaiah. Mr. Brooks, he did not answer. Not there. not while her face was pale and her body was weak. The doctor checked her blood pressure, then the baby's heartbeat. The sound filled the small room, fast, tiny. Alive for a moment, Naomi forgot everything else, her eyes filled. Isaiah sat beside the bed, head lowered, both hands clasped tightly. The doctor said she was dehydrated and overworked. The baby was okay, but Naomi needed rest. Real rest, no standing all morning, no skipping meals, no carrying heavy pots. Isaiah nodded through every word, like a man receiving judgment. When the doctor left, Naomi turned to him. Now, Isaiah closed his eyes. Naomi, no. Now, he opened his eyes behind the dark glasses. She could not see them. That made the moment worse. Who are you? He swallowed. The man who loves you. That is not enough. Silence. Then Isaiah stood. Come with me. Naomi laughed once, but there was no humor in it. I just fainted. I know. And your answer is another secret. No, he said. My answer is the truth. They left through a side exit. The black SUV was waiting. Naomi sat beside him in the back seat, one hand resting on her stomach, the other gripping her bag. She said nothing. The whole ride, the city changed outside the window. The old buildings near their apartment slowly gave way to cleaner streets. Then new developments. Then a wide block where construction crews were working on brick storefronts, apartments, trees, sidewalks, and signs that looked expensive but still warm. The SUV stopped in front of a restored red brick building. Large windows, steel doors, a clean black sign above the entrance, Brooks Community Renewal Group. Naomi read it once, then again. Her body went cold. Isaiah opened the door. Please. She stepped out slowly inside the lobby. Smelled like fresh wood and coffee. People moved with purpose. A receptionist stood when Isaiah entered. Good morning, Mr. Brooks. Naomi stopped walking. Another man in a gray blazer approached quickly. Sir, the zoning call was moved to 3. Sir. Naomi turned to Isaiah. Her voice was barely a whisper. What is this? Isaiah removed his dark glasses slowly. For the first time, Naomi saw his eyes clearly in a bright light. They were not empty, not fully blind. There was damage there. A faint cloudiness in one eye, but his gaze found her not perfectly, but enough to break her heart. Naomi. He said. She took one step back. Behind him on the main wall hung a large framed photograph. Isaiah standing beside a row of renovated homes. Below it were words in black letters. Isaiah Brooks, founder and CEO. Naomi stared. CEO, the letters blurred. She looked at his cane, his old coat, the apartment, the torn sofa, the coins. He counted on the bus. The night she worried about rent. The morning she stood until her feet swelled. Her breath became uneven. No, she whispered. Isaiah's face crumpled. I can explain. That is what people say when the truth is already ugly. He flinched. She wrapped one arm around herself. Were you ever homeless? Yes. Were you ever poor? Yes. Are you poor? Now. Silence. That was the answer. Naomi nodded slowly. A tear slid down her face. Were you ever blind? Isaiah looked down. I had an accident years ago. My sight was badly damaged. For a while. I lost most of it. For a while my left eye is still weak. Some days are harder than others. But you can see, yes. The word landed between them, like a door slamming shut. Naomi covered her mouth, not because she was going to scream, because she was afraid she might fall apart in front of all those people. Isaiah stepped closer. She stepped back again. Do not. He stopped immediately. I am sorry. Why, she asked, her voice shook now. Why would you do this to me? Isaiah's eyes filled. Because I was afraid. Naomi laughed through tears. Afraid my mother died when I was young. My father raised me. He built a small construction company from nothing. Then he married a woman who wanted the life, not the man. Naomi's face stayed hard, but she listened. She drained him, lied to him, took from him, then left with his business partner. He lost the company, lost the house, lost himself. Isaiah's voice cracked. One night he drove drunk and hit a concrete barrier. He died before I got to the hospital. The room around them felt far away. Isaiah wiped his face quickly. I had money later, much later, after years of working, investing, rebuilding. But every woman who came close seemed to see the company first. The cars, the buildings, the name. He looked at her fully. Then I met you at that bus stop. You saw a blind beggar, and you stood beside me anyway. Naomi's lips trembled. So you tested me. His silence answered before his mouth did. Yes. And after I married you, after I cooked in that apartment, after I worried with you, after I carried your child. I wanted to tell you, but you did not. His eyes closed. No. Naomi took another step back. Her voice dropped. You did not need money to hurt me. Isaiah opened his eyes. She looked straight at him. You only needed lies that broke him. Not softly, not neatly. Isaiah Brooks, the man employees called Sir. The man whose name was on the wall. The man who owned buildings. Naomi had walked past without knowing, covered his face and cried. Not a few quiet tears. A broken sound came from his chest. I know, he said. I know I was wrong. Naomi stood there shaking. Part of her wanted to comfort him. That frightened her, because love was still there, under the anger, under the betrayal, under the humiliation of realizing she had been living inside another person's test. She placed one hand over her stomach. The baby moved softly, or maybe she imagined it. I gave you the truth of me, she whispered, all of it. Isaiah lowered his hands. His face was wet. I know. And you gave me a costume, he flinched. Again. I gave you fear, he said, and called it protection. Naomi looked at him for a long time, then she turned toward the door. Isaiah did not stop her. He only said, the car can take you anywhere. She paused, did not turn around. I do not want your car. Then she walked out of Brooks Community Renewal Group alone. Outside the sun was bright, too bright. Naomi stood on the sidewalk, breathing hard, one hand on her belly. The city moved around her like nothing had happened. But everything had. The blind beggar was not a beggar. The poor husband was not poor. The small apartment had been real only because he chose to make it real. And Naomi, who had spent her whole life begging people not to lie about her worth, had just learned that even love could hide behind a mask. Behind her inside the building, Isaiah Brooks remained standing, under his own name on the wall. For the first time in years, his wealth could not help him. His money could not fix the sentence she left behind. You only needed lies. And he knew, with a pain deeper than shame, that she was right. Madison found out on a Sunday afternoon. Not from Naomi, not from Isaiah, from social media. A real estate page posted a photo of Isaiah Brooks standing in front of a newly restored block in Atlanta, dark suit, clear eyes, no cane in the photo, no torn coat, no bus stop, just power. The caption read, Brooks Community Renewal Group announces $42 million redevelopment project, led by founder and CEO Isaiah Brooks. Madison stared at the screen. At first, she did not understand. Then she zoomed in once, twice. Her breath stopped. No, she whispered. Chloe was lying across Madison's bed, scrolling through her own phone. What? Madison sat up. Her face had gone pale. It is him who Madison turned the screen toward her. Chloe frowned. Then her eyes widened. The blind man. Madison's hands started shaking. He is not blind. She looked at the photo again. The suit, the building, the people standing around him like he mattered. Her voice rose. He is rich. Chloe sat up slowly. How rich? Madison clicked the article. Her eyes moved fast. Property developer, community investment, private holdings, commercial blocks, national partners. Madison let out a sound that was almost a scream. This cannot be real. Eleanor came into the room. What is going on? Madison stood so fast, her phone nearly fell. You ruined everything. Eleanor blinked. What you helped push Naomi into a billionaire's arms. Eleanor's face changed. Chloe whispered, Mom, Isaiah owns Brooks Community Renewal Group. The name meant nothing to Eleanor at first. Then Madison shoved the phone toward her. Eleanor read, her lips parted for several seconds. No one spoke, then Madison laughed, a sharp, broken laugh. So Naomi gets the rich husband. She pointed at the phone. Naomi, the helper, the charity case. She gets him. Eleanor lowered the phone. Madison. No, Madison backed away. No, do not, Madison. Me. Her eyes were wet now, but not with sadness, with rage. I was supposed to get that life, Chloe said quietly. You had. Grant. Madison turned on her. Shut up. But Chloe did not shut up this time, maybe because the truth was finally too big. Grant is broke. Madison froze. Eleanor looked at Chloe. What? Chloe swallowed. I heard him on the phone. His car is leased. He owes money. He has been borrowing from women. He told someone he just needed Madison long enough to get access to her contacts. Madison's face twisted. You are lying. Chloe's voice shook. I am not. As if the universe wanted to finish the humiliation. Madison's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown woman. Ask Grant about the condo, he said, was his then another, and the engagement ring he used twice. Then a photo came through. Grant at dinner with another woman smiling. Wearing the same navy suit he wore at the Whitmore house. Madison stared. Something inside her broke, not quietly, like Naomi used to break loudly. She screamed, threw the phone onto the bed, then grabbed her purse. Eleanor reached for her. Where are you going to fix what you all ruined? By Monday morning, Madison was standing in the lobby of Brooks Community Renewal Group. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was not. Her eyes were red. Security stopped her near the front desk. Ma'am, do you have an appointment? Madison smiled too brightly. I am family. The receptionist looked calm with Mr. Brooks with his wife. That word burned her tongue. The receptionist picked up the phone. Madison did not wait. She pushed past security and stormed toward the glass doors beyond the lobby. Isaiah, she shouted. Employees turned. A meeting room. Door opened. Isaiah stepped out. No glasses, no cane. Gray suit, controlled face, behind him. Naomi appeared. She was still pale from the strain of the past few days, but she stood straight. One hand rested lightly over her stomach. Madison saw that hand, her eyes sharpened. So it is true, Madison said, her voice carried across the lobby. You really did. All this, Naomi did not move. Isaiah stepped forward. Madison, leave. Madison laughed. Leave after she stole my life. The lobby went silent. Naomi looked at her tired. Not afraid, just tired. Your life. Madison pointed at Isaiah. He came around because of me first. Isaiah's jaw tightened. No. I came because Chloe gave me your house address after you all decided Naomi should be thrown away. Madison ignored him. She looked at the employees, watching. This girl is not what you think she is. She grew up in my house. We fed her. We clothed her. She was nothing before us. Naomi closed her eyes for 1 second. When she opened them, her voice was calm. That is not true, Madison scoffed. Oh, now you have a voice. Naomi walked closer slowly, not to attack, not to perform, just close enough that Madison had to look at her properly. I was not the woman you looked down on, Naomi said. Madison's mouth tightened. Naomi continued. You just never looked closely. Those words landed harder than shouting. Madison blinked. Naomi's voice stayed steady. You saw my skin, my old clothes, my silence, my chores, and you decided that was all I was. The room was quiet enough to hear the elevator open behind them. Naomi did not turn. But I was a person the whole time. Madison's face flushed. You are acting high now, because he has money. Naomi shook her head. No, I am standing straight, because I finally stopped shrinking for people who needed me small. Isaiah moved beside Naomi, not in front of her, beside her, exactly the way she had once stood beside him. At the bus stop, he looked around the lobby, then at Madison. This woman respected me when she thought I had nothing. His voice was low, but everyone heard. She gave me food when she thought I was poor. She gave me patience when she thought I was blind. She gave me dignity when your family gave her humiliation. Madison's lips trembled. That is not fair. Isaiah's eyes hardened. No, what happened to her was not fair. He stepped closer, but his voice stayed controlled. And I will not let you walk into my building and insult my wife because you regret underestimating her. Madison looked around. The employees were watching now. Not with admiration, with judgment. That was what hurt her most. For years, Madison had lived on being watched well. Now she was being seen clearly. Security arrived beside her. Ma'am, one guard said. You need to leave. Madison jerked away. Do not touch me. Naomi spoke softly. Madison. Madison turned for half a second. Her face looked almost human, almost young, almost lost. Naomi said, I do not hate you. Madison swallowed. Then Naomi added, but you are not allowed to hurt me anymore. The softness left Madison's face. Security escorted her toward the doors. She twisted once, shouting, you will regret this, both of you. But nobody moved. Nobody chased her. Nobody begged. The glass doors opened, then closed behind her. And for the first time, Madison Whitmore was outside looking in. Naomi stood still. The lobby remained quiet. Isaiah turned to her. You okay? Naomi looked at the doors, then at him. No, he nodded. She appreciated that he did not rush to make it pretty. After a moment, she breathed out. But I will be. Isaiah lowered his head. I am sorry. She came here. Naomi touched her stomach. She came because the truth finally arrived. Then she looked up at him, and truth makes cruel people panic. Isaiah did not answer because she was right. Justice had not come with revenge. Naomi had not screamed. She had not slapped. She had not begged Madison to understand. She had simply stood there, seen, heard, protected, and no longer available for anyone's cruelty. Outside, Madison sat in her car, shaking with rage, shame, and something she had never learned how to name: loss. Inside, Naomi turned away from the glass doors, not because the pain was gone, but because for once she was walking away by choice. Eleanor Whitmore came to Naomi 3 weeks later, not in a dramatic way. No loud crying, no expensive flowers, no speech prepared in a mirror. She came on a cloudy afternoon wearing a plain gray coat, standing in the lobby of Brooks Community Renewal Group, like a woman who had lost the right to walk in with confidence. The receptionist called upstairs. Naomi almost said no. Her first instinct was still protection. Her hand went to her stomach. The baby was heavier now. The doctor had told her to rest more, to avoid stress, to choose peace where she could, and Eleanor had never been peace. Isaiah sat across from Naomi. In the office, he did not speak for her. Not anymore. He only said, whatever you decide, I will respect it. Naomi looked at him. There were still things between them. Tender things. Damaged things. Things being repaired slowly, with truth instead of promises. She nodded. Let her come up when Eleanor entered. Naomi barely recognized her. Not because she looked so different, because she looked smaller. The woman who once ruled the Whitmore house with tight lips and cold eyes now stood near the doorway with both hands wrapped around her purse strap. Her hair was neat but tired. Her makeup had settled into the lines around her mouth. For a moment she looked like grief had finally caught up with her. Naomi. Eleanor said Naomi stayed seated, not to be rude, because standing up too quickly made her dizzy, and because some part of her was tired of rising every time Eleanor entered a room. Ms. Whitmore. Naomi said the name landed between them. Eleanor flinched. She deserved to. I suppose I earned that, she whispered. Naomi did not answer. Eleanor looked around the office. The clean windows, the framed project plans, the quiet strength of the place Isaiah had built. Then she looked back at Naomi. I came to apologize. Naomi's face stayed calm, but inside something tightened. Apologies were dangerous. Sometimes people used them like keys. They said sorry, then expected immediate access to the room they burned down. Eleanor swallowed. I will not ask you to forget. What I did, her voice trembled, but she did not cry. That mattered. I called you a burden. I let my daughters humiliate you. I let my grief become cruelty. And when Richard died, I punished you for being the one person who still reminded me of his goodness. Naomi looked down. That sentence hurt, because it sounded true. Eleanor continued. I was ashamed of money problems, ashamed of losing control, ashamed that I could not hold the family together the way he did. And instead of becoming kinder, I became smaller. Naomi's eyes burned, but she did not move. Eleanor's voice broke softly. You were never the debt in that house, Naomi. You were the only one still paying for love with work. No child should have had to do. Silence filled the office. Isaiah stood near the window. Quiet, present, not interfering. Eleanor looked at Naomi's stomach, then quickly looked away, as if she knew she had no right to enjoy that joy. I am sorry, she said. Not because Isaiah is wealthy, not because Madison embarrassed herself, not because people know. Now she looked Naomi in the eyes. I am sorry, because I failed you. Naomi breathed in slowly. For years she had dreamed of Eleanor saying those words. But dreams never prepare you for the real thing. The real thing was messier, less satisfying, more painful. Because an apology did not return the years. It did not erase the bathroom floor, the serving dress, the envelope, the phrase, poor blood. It did not bring Richard back. Naomi placed one hand over her belly. I hear you, she said. Eleanor waited. Naomi continued. And I forgive you. Eleanor's face crumpled slightly, but Naomi lifted one hand. I forgive you, she repeated. But I am not ready to be close to you. Eleanor froze. Naomi's voice stayed gentle. Forgiveness means I will not carry hatred for you. It does not mean I will hand you the same place in my life. Eleanor nodded slowly. Tears filled her eyes then, but she wiped them herself. I understand Naomi hoped she did. Not long after that, Naomi made a decision that surprised everyone. She did not ask Isaiah for a new house. She did not ask for Madison to be punished. She did not ask for Eleanor's name to be dragged through the city. Instead, she asked Isaiah for one empty building on Campbell Street, the same street where she had met him, the same street where she had once stood in the rain beside a man everyone else ignored. Isaiah gave it to her. No questions, no conditions together. They turned it into a safe home for young women aging out of foster care, pregnant girls without family support, and women who had been pushed out of homes where love had become control. Naomi named it the Seen House because of Richard's bookmark, because of Isaiah's lie, because of every person who had ever been looked at, but not truly seen. The first time Naomi walked through the finished building, she cried not loudly, still not loudly, but differently now. There were clean beds, a shared kitchen, a counseling room, a small nursery, painted soft yellow on the wall near the entrance. Naomi placed a simple sentence. No one earns the right to be treated like a human being. They are born with it. Isaiah stood beside her when the sign went up. He had kept his promise since the reveal. No more secrets, not about money, not about business, not about his eyesight, not about fear. Some nights he still apologized. Naomi did not always want to hear it. Some nights she did. Healing was not a straight road. It was a series of choices. To tell the truth, to stay present, to not punish the future for the past. Isaiah learned that love was not proven by testing someone. Naomi learned that being strong did not mean accepting every wound, quietly And slowly, between doctor visits, foundation meetings, quiet dinners, and honest conversations, their marriage became real in a way the first ceremony had not been. Months later, their baby was born, just after sunrise. A girl 7 pounds, 2 ounces healthy, loud, furious at the world for being cold. Naomi laughed when she cried. Isaiah cried when he heard the baby cry. The hospital room was quiet. After the nurses left, morning light came through the blinds in soft gold lines. No cameras, no grand announcement, no mansion scene, just Naomi in a clean white bed, tired and peaceful, holding her daughter against her chest. Isaiah sat beside her, one hand resting on the blanket. "What should we name her?" he whispered. Naomi looked at the baby's small face, then at the blue bookmark Richard had once given her, now tucked inside her hospital bag. "You are seen," she smiled. "Grace." Isaiah nodded. "Grace Brooks." The baby stirred. Naomi touched her tiny cheek for a moment. All the rooms of her life passed through her heart. The foster center, the Whitmore house, the bathroom floor, the bus stop, the little apartment, the office wall with Isaiah's name, the lobby where she finally stopped shrinking. Then she looked at her daughter and whispered the promise she had needed all her life. No one in this house will ever grow up feeling unwanted. Isaiah bowed his head. Naomi held Grace closer, and outside the window, Atlanta kept moving. Cars passed, people hurried. The city stayed loud. But inside that quiet room, something gentle was happening. A family was beginning, not built on blood, not built on money, not built on lies, built on truth. Respect and the courage to love without making someone beg to belong. Naomi once believed love had to be earned through suffering. As a little girl in a foster home, she learned how quickly people looked away from those who had nothing. Later, inside the Whitmore house, she learned that cruelty did not always come from strangers. Sometimes it came from the people sitting at your dinner table. But life changed the night she stood beside a blind man at a rainy bus stop, because respect came before romance. Kindness came before wealth, and dignity mattered long before status ever did. Isaiah's greatest mistake was not being poor. It was believing deception could protect love. Pain may explain why people lie, but it never excuses the damage those lies leave behind. Naomi understood that better than anyone. Healing also did not arrive like magic. It came slowly through truth, through boundaries, through honest apologies, through choosing not to become cruel after surviving cruelty. In the end, Naomi did not win because she married a wealthy man. She won because she never lost her humanity, even when others tried to take it from her. And Isaiah did not become worthy because he was rich. He became worthy when he stopped hiding and finally allowed himself to be fully seen. Some people spend their entire lives searching for power, but the rarest thing in the world is finding someone who sees another human being clearly, without money, status, beauty, or pride changing their heart. And in a quiet home filled with truth instead of fear, Naomi finally built the one thing she had wanted since childhood: a family where nobody had to beg to belong.